Hello my dudes, this is Kadima with another build video for Lords of the Fallen. This time a build inspired in cosplaying Lich King from World of Warcraft, The Wrath of the Lich King. Now I know that he only used one sword and I'm using two, but the armor and the looks kinda gives me a bit of a vibe of a Lich King, and also because we will be using ice as our main source of damage, combining a bit of spells, umbral spells, and the weapons themselves doing a bit of frost damage. Now, let's take a look at the build and the equipment. As you can see on the top of the screen, I'm using Rosamund's swords, dual wielding these bad boys, and the Lost Beresco Catalyst +10, meaning that I will be using mostly and only, in this case, umbral spells. Now, if you look at the bottom left side of the screen, as usual, I'm using a level 110, strength at 12, agility at 12, endurance is at 21, vitality at 30, radiance and inferno both at 45. Now, with these stats, the attack power of each Rosamund sword is going to be exactly 666, the number of the beast. Now, the weapons themselves have actually a reasonable scaling. They scale B with both strength and agility, and they scale B plus with radiance and inferno. Now, also, if you take a look at the description of the swords, you can identify the runes I'm using. I'm using the ones that increase posture damage, the ones that ignore weight and stats requirements of the slotted item, and the Balago, which temporarily reduces a struck enemy's physical defense. Now, I wish I could use other runes for this build, especially the Oriman, which will increase the radiance scaling and reduce the inferno scaling, or something like that. Maybe use the ones that just increase radiance scaling or increase inferno scaling. Unfortunately, with the slots that this sword comes, only one of them comes with a kind of square shape, meaning that I can't use any of those because I require the crafter's essence, which allows the ignore weight and stats requirements. So you got to do what you have to with the options that you were given. So this was the best combination I could come up with, and it does kind of work. The build is not overpowered or anything like it, but it works. It works just fine. It's fun to use, allows me to play in a slightly different play style, trying to make the best out of the frost damage. Now, the Lost Beresco's Catalyst has a scaling in both Radiance and Inferno, so our spells are actually going to be quite powerful. If I was to wear the rings that increase spell power, they would be even more deadly, but I don't want that to be the focus of the build here. I want a nice harmony between the frost damage you get from the swords and the damage you get from spells such as the Grieving Gaze. Now, take a look at the Rosamund's sword again. Both of them have 150 frost build-up, and the attack power of 666 is divided between physical, and the higher your strength and agility, the higher your physical damage will be, and wither damage, which will in this case scale from the Radiance and Inferno scaling side of the weapon. So you can play around and play with the numbers and get better attack power, maybe have a bit more physical and a little bit less wither. It's entirely up to you. You can use it as you see fit. I like this combination because not only you will be doing a lot of wither damage, but you will also be doing a lot of damage with the spells, so it gives a nice harmony when it comes to the damage output. As for the helm, I'm using the Paladin helm because it's the closest one to the Wrath of the Lich King cosplay that I'm planning here. Same applies for the Sovereign Protector armor. The gauntlets, as usual, I'm using the Holy Bulwark, and the leggings, as usual, I'm using the Crimson Rector leggings. The tint I am using for this effect happens to be the exclusive silver tint that you get from the special edition. Now, last thing I want to talk about is the necklace, which I'm using the Hysteria pendant, mainly because increasing the spell power of this one is going to help with the damage we do from the Grieving Gaze and all the other spells, but it's actually the main reason, the lack of better options. There is no necklace that increases the damage done with Frostbite. If there was, I would be using that one. But because there isn't, I go with the next best thing, and this is the one in my opinion for this build. Now for the rings, I'm using 2 York's rings, and both of them do something so simple as deal additional Frostbite damage. So when the Frostbite procs, as you probably know, it affects the stamina of our enemies in PvP. This does not happen in PvE because, let's be honest, there's no stamina, they just keep on attacking, especially the bosses. But in PvP, if another player is affected by Frostbite, their stamina pool is reduced by half for a certain period of time. On top of that, when the Frostbite procs, it does quite a significant amount of damage. It's not massive on its own, but when you have both rings boosting up the Frostbite damage, it actually makes quite the difference. And I'm going to exemplify this to you guys by killing everybody's best and favorite test subject, that guy down there, as usual. I'm also going to showcase a little fight against Pietas, just so you guys can see how it works against bosses. I know Pieta is the first one, so she is actually quite weak. It's not the best example, but I had to do it through co-op because all my bosses are dead, as you know by now, and I don't have the patience to go through the entire game one more time. I've done it 6 times and it's more than enough. I will also be giving PvP examples as usual. Again, it's a fun to use build, nothing too powerful, but it is efficient, I'll tell you that, and it's fun. And who doesn't like posing as the Lich King? Let's be honest. By the way, I'm using the Bucket Lord salute nowadays during my PvP and my invasions, just to say hello in a different kind of fashion. Thank you guys for watching it this far. Let's kick on and go with the examples now. So I'm gonna demonstrate with that guy the damage that is to be expected and how to use the build. First, we wanna use Umbral Weapon on our sword, and then you wanna cast Misery on the enemy, and then Grievous once, Grievous twice. I get hit, but I don't really care. And there is, he's dead. So yeah, as I said, when the effect procs, it does a substantial amount of damage. I'm going to do it one more time, this time using mainly the swords, just so you guys can see the damage that you get from the swords, because that, my friends, was basically just 2 casts of Grievous. So you do the Misery here, it hits 1, 2. Now it's gonna proc there. You see, when the Frostbite procs, and in this case against this guy it takes about 4 hits to proc the Frostbite, it does a big chunk of damage and it makes a hell of a difference, especially in PvE, because this will continuously proc. It's not like it procs one and then there's a cooldown while it cannot proc anymore. No, it just keeps on procking. Every 4 hits, Frostbite. Every 4 hits, Frostbite. And this happens against this guy. Of course, during a boss fight, because they have much bigger health pools, you will proc it more and more and more. One thing that can help in a boss fight, and this is just a tip for you guys using this build, it might be useful to keep some unripe berries with you, because when you use one, you get quite a bit of a stamina increase, and the stamina regen it's actually increased, so it's quite useful, so you can keep spamming those attacks. In terms of the special attack, this is what it does, nothing massive. Now let's go for the examples of boss fights and PvP, my friends. Now this friend of mine summoned me to fight Pieta because he was struggling. As you can see, the amount of damage we do to Pieta, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's not the best of examples because, as I said, she's quite a weak boss in terms of damage taken. She takes a lot of damage, and he also summoned the other NPC for the fight. So yeah, but it does allow you to see how much damage she's about to take with a barrage of echoes. I actually missed that one. I didn't miss the second one though. As you saw, it just consumed an entire HP bar. GG. Now for PvP examples, this first guy I invaded in the snow area. I was actually just waving hello and he just went straight with the beam, which is fine. Again, I do not complain. Feel free to attack me straight away. But then it kind of triggers me a little bit, so I will be showing no mercy. Actually, he was using two big ass swords. As you can see, 2 hits of the swords, which is one single R1, nearly killed him. And then when I hit him a second time, the proc of the frost did the damage. Now, this guy was just standing here doing nothing in the corner, so instead of attacking, I just kicked him, trying to get his attention. Oh, and then I realized, oh, he's here. Okay. Unfortunately, well, he just went in for the kill, which is okay, but, well, frost damage, 207 in one hit, nearly got him killed straight away. Also, it did not proc the Frostbite, it just did normal frost damage. And if you have frost damage and then the proc of the Frostbite with the rings procking at the same time, that is a lot of damage. So that's basically the focus of using the Lich King build here, is I am actually trying to do as much damage using Ice and Frostbite as possible, instead of just going with the Barrage of Echoes and things like that, because that would kind of defeat the purpose and the idea of the build. Now, after a couple of swings, he was down. I retreat because there's that period of invulnerability that they don't take damage, but then, yes, I did cast it and he didn't see it. GG. Now this guy just attacked me straight away. Again, no problems with that. I was just buffing up and getting ready. A few spams of the ice for that lovely frostbite build up and for the ice damage. Again, doesn't do insane amounts of damage, but it is useful on the long run. I did take quite a few hits here from his radiant spells. Trying to keep the distance because he's using a normal sword, which is Pieta, and the large sword at the same time, and that gives it kind of a weird swing, as in when the big sword moves, it plunges forward a little bit. But as you see, just 2 hits from my swords and all of his HP is now withered. He probably didn't realize that, and he just died once the ice hit him. Now we go into Umbral, and he just gets one-shotted because all of his HP was still withered. GG. Now this guy actually just walked past me as I spawn in his world. I ran a little bit far from him just so I could cast Umbral Weapon on my swords. Then I go up the stairs. There he is. I was going to say hello, but I realized he looked quite a bit anxious. And then when the lag kicks in, as you guys can tell, that swing should not have hit me, but the connection and the lag are so bad that there's nothing I can do. As you saw, he died to the frost. That didn't teach him to slow down though, because he came in for the kill. And then I nearly got him with that javelin, but it didn't do the job. So I casted some ice spamming, and I kept casting one more, kind of camouflaged by all the fog. And there you go. Hit, procs the frostbite, and he's dead. GG. In this case here, I actually ran into two guys. However, again, the connection can be awful, but in this case was actually a bit funny, especially here at the start. In case you missed it, I just consumed healing when there was no need for it, simply because of the lag. Instead of casting the spell, it just used the healing, which is a shame. Now, the host himself is using those hammers. I think that's him. Yeah, that's him. But then I one-shot him, both of them, at the same time with one single cast of the Barrage of Echoes. Now here's the funny part. He was trying to revive his friend. Pro tip, my friend, you can't revive co-op players during invasions. I'll leave that for you guys on the channel as well, in case you didn't know. You cannot revive your co-op's friends if you have been invaded. Now, this guy went with the Radiance spells casting straight away. Not a problem. I was casting some ice. I tried to cast the Umbral there to push him back. One single attack and you saw how much damage that did. But then I get hit by the leg. As you can see how far away he is. And I'm getting hit. Then he actually jumps down. I decide to, well, you know, use the time wisely to bucket. He comes in for the kill. He misses. I miss as well. He misses again, but then he goes for a second and a third swing, and he probably ran out of stamina to dodge. GG. As for this next one, I could tell he was hiding here. I actually just wanted to say hello, but he was having none of that. So he goes in with his big ass sword. He misses twice, and then you can see how much damage those hits did, right? And there you go. The Frostbite procs, he dies. He goes into Umbral. But he was having none of me. He just kept on trying to swing his big ass sword. So I casted the spell right above his head, and he was dead. Or so I thought. He wasn't dead. So I had to keep on casting. I was trying to get him with the ice. Most of it was hitting just the walls, because in tight areas this can be a bit of a problem. But then I casted one more. He swung his sword and he died because he didn't see that one was behind him. Now he was actually dead. GG. On to the next one. This actually was quite the duel. I was just trying to salute with the bucket salute, but he was having none of that. He went straight for the kill, which is fine. I retreat. I want to buff my weapons, just like he has his weapons buffed. I want to buff mine as well. There we go. Umbral weapon. Now let's dance. He was hiding there in the corner. That was more than clear. I didn't want to use much of the spells. I was trying to focus on using the swords. And then I realized, okay, he's out of stamina. So there he is. Two swings, 3 hits, and he's down. But I don't know if you noticed, the Frostbite did not proc. So when I casted those spells and he got hit once, the Frostbite proc, and he was dead. GG. That was a good fight and a good example of the strength of the build. Now this is going to be the last example, because this was actually quite the duel. But as soon as I arrived and I was doing my salutations, he just went in for the kill. Lucky for me, the reflections have now been nerfed. They no longer one-shot you in PvP, unless you actually have the proper build for it. But there's a different story. But they don't do as much damage now, and they definitely don't go through walls. So that is a bonus. So because he wanted to use spells, I thought, why not? Let's do a Harry Potter fight and just use spells. So while he was casting his Radiant spells, I was casting my Umbral Javelins, missing most of them. But these don't miss that much. They don't do tremendous amount of damage, as I said, 190, 200 damage per hit. But the good thing is that they also help build up the frost. And once the frost bite builds up just enough, they will proc the rings and do a tremendous amount of damage. So I was just trying to play wisely, using some stones to regen both my HP and my mana, casting some more ice spells because, you know, I'm the Lich King, so ice is kind of my thing. The good thing about spamming these together is that sometimes it's hard to tell, depending on the angle, that there's more than one. So I often kill enemies, and players in this case, because they can only see one of them. By the time they see the second one, it's too late. Now, this guy, he saw it, but he was so focused on trying to hit me that, look, the R1 spam is real. Again, it's fine if everybody's free to play the way they want to play. If you want to spam R1, be my guest. It's not going to really affect me. But he kept spamming his swords. By the way, guys, if you use these swords, I believe they are not actually that good. There are other radiant spells you can get that are much better than this, but hey ho, it's your choice. Now keep going on with this, with the ice, because I really wanted to kill this guy using the ice. And there you go, finally he goes down. We go into Umbral, and the same fate awakes because I just gonna do the same. Anyway, guys, this is going to be the last PvP example. I think it's a nice build. You guys should give it a try. Please subscribe if you haven't just yet. Leave a like or any questions, suggestions in the comments down below. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Cheerio!